We think we offer something that others don't. With our capacity and capabilities, we think we're the best bang for buck is for our shareholders, and we'll continue to pursue that. We're achieving plus 99.5% lithium carbonate content, which is, the battery quality sort of benchmark. We're up to almost 99.8%. The quality we are achieving is comparable to the best quality carbonate producers worldwide.
Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. Today we spoke to Jerko Zuvela. He's the CEO of Argosy Minerals. They're a lithium player with assets in Argentina and the US. We talked to him about their pilot plant results, the hopes for funding a 2,000 tonne per annum plant, and if they're going to be able to do that. And we have a refreshingly honest feedback from him on the state of the lithium market today. So if you want to look at any of those topics and more, look in the transcription below, click on the relevant timestamp, and I'll take you to that part of the video. And if I could ask that you click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, please click the notification bell. Let's hear what Jerko had to say. Hi Jerko, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Yeah, we spoke in August and you gave us a run through then, but can you kick off and give us a 1-minute summary now for people new to the story, please?
Yep, lithium brine project in Argentina, in Salta province. We've taken a different approach. We've developed evaporation ponds, built them over the last couple of years, built a pilot plant, got into production via the pilot plant, got a sales arrangement with Mitsubishi. We're looking to start delivering product into them early next year. The main aim, though, is moving forward with the commercial stage of the project. And the next step of that is an interim modular plant of 2,000 tonnes per annum. We're seeking about $15 million US finance for that. With an aim to move forward to the full commercial scale of 10,000 tonnes per annum over the next couple of years.
Good man, good man. Okay, so last time we talked, you kind of explained that you're sort of chemical processors rather than miners, but I still think we've got to talk about the lithium market, if you don't mind, just because if people need to buy into the lithium thesis to be able to make an investment in here. So it was tough when we spoke in August. Has much changed?
No, it's probably, it's still treading around where it's been for the last few months. And, the main issues have been around overproduction. And that's probably come mostly from here in Australia, the spodumene stockpiles. So most of the end users we're speaking to are saying, they can secure product pretty easily from existing producers and those converters in China. And that's just creating a malaise in the market. And it makes it a little bit difficult for the rest of us trying to get projects up and running.
Right. Yeah, it totally does. I think when we talked last time, we talked about JP Morgan's forecast $7,000 sometime into 2021. I mean, do you think that will be the case, or do you think the market's going to turn before then?
I'm an eternal optimist, especially in the lithium space, Martin. But you see all those analyst forecasts for EVs, batteries, and so forth, and gigafactories and so forth. If that all is even half coming true over the next 7 or 8 years, then there needs to be production coming from lithium in the next couple of years. So if people can understand that and the strategic groups want to be a part of that, then they need to invest in that. And again, we're trying to set ourselves up to be in a position that we can benefit from that. But I'm hopeful over the next 12 to 18 months that we do see a bit of a turnaround once these stockpiles sort of are either reduced or removed from the market during that time.
Okay, well, so there's two things there. I think the general consensus is this EV revolution is coming. Speaking to some of the nickel guys, cobalt guys, even tin guys, they're thinking this thing is 2 years out. So people talking the language of EV revolution are going to change their fortunes today. I think perhaps a little bit optimistic or misguided. But when it does turn, where precisely are you going to sit with regards to lithium? Because there's obviously there's different types of lithium and there's different lithium outputs. So where are you positioning yourselves for when it does get going?
Yeah, we think with our processing expertise and our processing expert in Argentina, Pablo Larralde, that we are producing very high quality battery grade lithium carbonate. We are producing that from the pilot plant. We are testing it. We are going to be shipping that early next month to a renowned international customer. So we're very confident in our quality. We've also tested for lithium hydroxide as well, high quality we can achieve there. So we are very much aiming for the high end battery quality lithium cathode market, predominantly in Japan, hopefully.
Right. So, and we'll get onto the projects and the pilot plant, etc., in a second. But let me understand. So, why aim for the carbonate and even the hydroxide? Why there?
That's where the cathode manufacturers require that product. That's what they need to put into their cathodes. So to feed that EV future market, we need to be producing what those cathode manufacturers want. And at the moment, it is carbonate and hydroxide are the growth markets.
Right. So if we are a couple of years away from meaningful numbers in the market, these gigafactories, etc., and meaningful quantities of lithium, cobalt, nickel, tin being required for the EV revolution, is there an interim step? Is there an interim phase that you guys have thought about in terms of monetizing what you've got, which is a reasonable lithium resource?
No, listen, we've had a similar strategy from the start. With our capacity and capabilities, we think that is where the best bang for buck is for our shareholders, and we'll continue to pursue that. Obviously, the last 12, 18 months has been a bit difficult. If we need to see it out for another, whatever period, whether it's a year or two, we're well placed. We've got plenty of funds. Like I said, we've got that pilot plant in operation. We feel reasonably confident that we're going to get that 2,000 tonne per annum plant developed, in the short term, and we can feed the market with that amount of product, given it's not a lot, and that remains our core focus and strategy. But at the same time, as we discussed last time, we do have that asset in the US. We can look to do some value adding to that project and take that from a very low base to hopefully something a bit more over the coming year or so.
Okay, so there is no plan B. It's plan A, and then a hunkered down version of plan A, which is you'll just preserve cash. Is that what I'm hearing?
Definitely. We have to make sure that we look after our funds that have been given to us by shareholders. That is definitely the aim in these tough times, for sure.
Okay. Well, let's talk about cash towards the end, because I think it's important to understand how, when you say preserve cash, what that means, and with regard to Tunipa, what does that mean in terms of exploring any monetization component there? Let's get onto the pilot plant. You had some quite good results, didn't you?
Very good results. We're achieving plus 99.5% lithium carbonate content, which is the battery quality sort of benchmark. We're up to almost 99.8%. With very low impurities, and that's probably the key factor, the very low impurities. Mm-hmm. With that processing technology and expertise, we feel that the quality we are achieving is comparable to the best quality carbonate producers worldwide.
Right, so Mitsubishi must be quite pleased. You're going to be shipping out soon your first 5 tons, presumably to Mitsubishi. I couldn't see that in the release. That's right. You're right. Okay. Yep. And then what happens? What do they do with that? What are you hoping to get out of that?
Well, obviously, what that does is validate and verify what we've been doing for the last couple of years. It allows us to keep moving forward as well. We've got a sales agreement for up to 100 tonnes of product. So we'll keep producing that good quality stuff. And all that does is keep verifying to whether it's Mitsubishi or any other strategic groups that are requiring good quality lithium carbonate material, that they should be speaking to us. And obviously that sort of moves into what we're trying to do next is build that next stage plant, that 2,000 tonne per annum plant, and securing funding for that. So all we're trying to do is keep going with what we're doing to further validate and give a chance to bring some funding in to take that next step.
What else did you learn during the pilot plant phase?
It's not very easy to produce lithium carbonate at battery quality. Even with an expert who's been doing it for 30 years, it's very challenging, and I think that's why some of our peers have realised how difficult it is. And some of the big companies, I think one of the main producers, Oversupply, have shown that they struggle to reach very high quality material. We've seen Galaxy with their recent announcements targeting a primary lithium carbonate material. So it's not easy to achieve, and that's where we think we stand out from our peers and even our seniors, that we think we've got the right expertise and technology to produce the good stuff.
So that must be quite frustrating, obviously, with prices as they are today, and perhaps where they will continue to go until this thing bottoms out. Very frustrating to have kind of cracked the formula and then not be able to monetize it in the way that you thought you would, say, 2 years ago when things were good.
Yeah, And what we see is just everyone lumps us in, these strategic groups, these end users lump us all in the same basket as every other junior who's, perhaps behind us in terms of doing what we've done. But you get lumped in the same basket because no one's prepared to take that next step because, they're conservative with their investments. We haven't seen a lot of investments in the junior lithium space in the last 12 or 18 months. And you just got to crack that you got to have the mentality that, you got to keep going because we are different. We can achieve different things. And you just got to find that right partner who has the same belief as us to take the step with us and move forward.
But it's very much a wait and see environment at the moment because people are looking for price to come back or some clues that price might come back. But that's not the sentiment at the moment. So again, I appreciate the frustration, and there's going to be a lot of juniors sitting on assets who don't have the technical know-how that you guys do, who I would really question how they move forward or how they continue to survive or why people should even fund them, let alone invest in them. So, right, we'll move on though. That's a much bigger topic.
I'll just add to that, and obviously we've seen that here, especially in Australia, and what we've seen in North America. These spodumene producers have gone into care and maintenance, gone into administration with some of them, gone into cost blowouts and all that sort of stuff. So it's very challenging, and that again just makes it all the more difficult for the juniors. But hopefully that rationalisation will be a benefit for the guys that do stick around, do preserve their funds, and keep going and try to keep progressing. And hopefully, the guys that keep trying, the ones rewarded at the next step.
Well, let's talk about that before we move on to the plant itself, the main plant itself. Then, I mean, what is your thinking at the moment? You last time we spoke, you had about $7.5 million in, I think it was August. You've been moving things along. You said you wouldn't spend too much money in the States. I don't know. I assume that's the case. How long can you continue to survive if you did say, well, look, let's just rein things back a bit until we think the time is right? I mean, first of all, one, is that your strategy? And two, what does that timeline look like?
Well, that strategy or that timeline, based on our current expenditure and our recent quarterly report, we've got enough money to last at least the next 2 years. So, if we need to cut back a bit, that's fine. But based on current operations, which is keep that pilot plant working, we're pretty good for 2 years. Obviously, you don't want to come down to your last dollar, but, we will be very conscious with our budget. And the strategy has to be, while these times are tough, and others perhaps are slowing down or doing other things, we need to keep moving as hard as we can to attract that right, strategic party.
Well, there's the nail on the head. You've got to get people interested in what you've got, and there's a whole bunch of other conversations going on. Let's face it, your Mitsubishi MOU is no more than an option for them. It's a small amount of money, but you've proved phase one, which is you're technically competent should things turn around, should the market turn around. But what are the conversations that you are having to maintain to position yourselves over the next 12 months, maybe 24 months?
Yeah, these large groups, and specifically, I guess these larger Japanese conglomerates, they're not generally funding into greenfields or grassroots projects. They prefer expansion projects or well-developed projects. So they've told us, progress, get that 2,000 tonne per annum plant built, and then we can look at, moving to commercial 10,000 tonne per annum scale. Doesn't help us in the short term, but we've lined up the next stage. But we got to walk before we can jump, and we got to find these groups that are prepared to come in a little bit earlier and see where they can assist.
Well, yeah, you need $15 million to get that plant up and running. So, I mean, given you've done stage one, is it disappointing that they haven't said at least they'll come in for some of stage two, which is build a 2,000 tonne per annum plant?
Very much so. Very frustrating for not only myself but our shareholders as well, because again, as you've said, we think we've got the skill sets and we've done what we needed to do to take that next step, and we just haven't been able to deliver on that, which is obviously disappointing and hard to accept, given we think we're a cut above. But market is the market, and we're not seeing a lot of other corporate activity in the junior space in lithium. So again, maybe that's a bit of solace for us, but no excuses. And we'll keep working hard until we crack that nut.
Okay, and by cracking that nut is finding someone who's willing to come up with $15 million to build this 2,000 ton per annum plant. Yeah. So where are you with that?
We're having lots of discussions. We're up in Japan only 6 weeks ago, having some good discussions with our existing parties like Mitsubishi, but also others who are keen to have a look. So we're advancing in those discussions. Groups want to do site visits. Groups are considering propositions. Outside of that, parties that traditionally aren't in the lithium space. I think we've seen Uranium One / Rosatom make some investments in the lithium space in recent times. There is outside parties that do want to come into that lithium space. So we're investigating those possibilities. We're having discussions regularly. We're making progress, but just these things take time, unfortunately. And with this time of year now, we just probably got to wait a little bit. But that sort of coincides with us anticipating the approvals for the stage 2 plant or the next stage plant. Hopefully that aligns, and hopefully in the first quarter next year we can, present some options to our board and to our shareholders to consider, and we can put it all to bed and start building. The boys in Argentina are ready to get going as soon as we get the approvals and the finance. Hopefully that's not too far off, but hopefully first quarter next year we can start that process.
So the permits are not contingent on the financing, and the financing's not contingent on the permitting, is it?
Listen, there's probably a little bit of overlap, but the discussions to date haven't really specified the contingency on both. But obviously, we probably will only access the funding once the approvals are granted. But we've had some progress on that in the last couple of weeks, and we expect them not to be too far off.
Okay, so remind me of the economics. Last time we spoke, you said that you will be a low quartile cost producer. Remind me what the economics are for the plant if you got this thing running at full capacity.
From the PEA for the full capacity 10,000 tonnes per annum, we're looking at about $4,600 per tonne, and that's probably most producers are between $4,000 to probably $5,000 per tonne, or the top quality producers. So that we feel that we fit into that category. Most converters in China and so forth are above that price, given they're probably operating at very small margins or even perhaps less. We feel pretty comfortable that our forecast OPEX is well and truly in the range where it can support what's the market at the moment, about 280,000 tonnes per annum of product. We fit our product and our pricing into those numbers.
Yeah, because again, you talk about Australia, Argentina, Chile pumping more product into market over the next couple of years. It's gonna keep prices low, but at $4,600, even if we add a 20-30%, even if you're doing it at $6,000, you're still in the money. Would that not be enough of a proof case for someone to go, well, let's get it built, and then when market recovers, we're starting ahead of everyone?
We think it is. So even in this tough market, let's say prices are $7,000 a tonne. Obviously, our Cobre's forecast a lot lower, but theirs is a lower quality product, we feel. So for that better quality product, there's still a decent margin. It's just about the financing structures and how much of a margin you need to ensure you can cover your debt provisions. Obviously, like I said, we've seen some of the Australian guys here suffer in that regard, so we want to ensure we don't put our shareholders and our company in that position. But we think even at slight recovery in price, or at least a bit of stabilisation in price, that we can get moving forward. It's just someone who's prepared to, or parties that are prepared to get involved. And at the moment, when you need a floor price in your sales agreement, that's the challenge, that parties don't want to be paying a higher floor price than what they can buy in the market. Okay,
so you talked earlier on about plan A, no plan B. But you also talked about a lot of trotting up to Japan, right? But why Japan? Who else are you talking to, and what types of deals are you constructing here? Because it seems to me you've got the flexibility to create very funky type funding deal for this plant if you need to, because your capex requirement isn't huge. You're producing at quite an attractive rate. Why can't you get different types of funders or potentially just investors? Forget strategic investors, just investors. The numbers still work, don't they? Yeah, but at the same time, investors are scared when they've seen these failures in these other projects in lithium. So it doesn't matter how good yours look. And I think we've had some discussions recently with a group, and they need to the
the forecast numbers through feasibility studies aren't perhaps as strong as what these investors would like, just because of the difficulties others have faced based on their forecasts through feasibility. So perhaps they don't put as much emphasis on those numbers and the economics on paper as they do in real life. And the real life is we're seeing some of these projects fail because the numbers weren't accurate in these feasibility studies. So again, another reason why we think this interim sort of step-by-step process is more accommodating and a lower risk for these investors. And that's where we think we're going to get traction over the, hopefully the next short period of time, that someone appreciates that. And like you said, then they're in and they can have a first look at that, that full commercial scale investment funding and have first crack at it if they can support us in the meantime.
Okay, so the plant isn't getting built anytime soon. It's not getting funded anytime soon. You're continuing with the permitting process, so it'll be ready when you need it. And you're effectively trying to get people interested in this, but the market conditions are not allowing you to. I'm just trying to understand the pain points for a junior CEO, a junior minor CEO, the things that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So it's not you don't know what to do. It's a question of you feel your hands are tied behind your back.
No, we just got to keep kissing and finding that prince that comes along. And we're kissing a few frogs at the moment, perhaps, but we think we're going to turn a couple of them into princes. And I don't think it's as far off as perhaps what the rest of the market may feel or the rest of the market may have to wait for. We think we offer something that others don't, and I think people are starting to appreciate, or some parties are starting to appreciate that. So again, perhaps the guys we were speaking to in the past weren't quite ready for the stage we wanted to get to as maybe a too small a step.
Right.
But maybe we are speaking to the right people now that are prepared to take a bit of a look at it as a phased approach and as a lower risk approach as well.
Right. So when you're talking about cutting back on costs and so forth, and just reining things back in until you've got breathing space, what sort of things are you cutting back on?
So as we said before, obviously no real major investment in Tonopah at the moment. We could go and do a lot more drilling at the project to increase the resource. We've already done some sort of desktop modelling, hydrogeological modelling, that we can look to increase the resource substantially by deeper drilling.
But no one cares.
Again, all that stuff.
No one cares.
No need for it.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of mine life at the moment. There's no point in investing money in the ground. We'd rather keep it in the bank account.
Okay, so what else are you doing in terms of cutting back costs?
Well, that's obviously quite substantial. We don't have a lot of staff. Even the pilot plant, we're only running that on 8 shifts a week rather than a full 7-day, 14 shifts per week. Again, just to keep costs down, don't be burdened by additional salaries and so forth, but really streamline staffing and that side of things, because besides money in the ground, your staff costs are your next major cost. And we run a pretty lean, mean machine here in Perth and also in Argentina. So we think we just we just did our cash flow forecast for the next 12 months, and it's pretty lean, and we've pretty much cut everything where we can. And like I said, that's why we can sort of last the next couple of years with the funds that we've got.
Okay. So when's your AGM?
We're on a calendar year basis, so ours is not until probably May next year.
Okay, fine. So you've got a way to go before you need to start having discussions with the shareholders. I mean, are you getting much feedback or pushback from shareholders at the moment? What are their concerns? What are you fielding?
Listen, we reach out to shareholders regularly, and they're all very encouraging. They probably think it should be a little bit easier than what we're encountering.
They can't all be encouraging. Come on. What are the things you're fielding?
No, listen. We do have a good shareholder base. Obviously, the ones that are probably most hurting are the ones that have paid a high share price, and they want to see us achieve quicker to get back to share prices that we have been, in the past. But in terms of solutions, no one's offering us anything more than what we're already considering. So until someone does, or got a better idea and they want to take my job, more than welcome to if they've got better ideas for the company. I'm a shareholder as well, so anything that gets us forward, with a different team or different ideas, we're happy to consider. But like I said, we're not having anything thrown at us that we're not thinking ourselves or not pursuing ourselves. And like I said, we're doing everything we can to turn the tide. But as I tell shareholders, a lot of it is market sentiment and market driven, and a lot of it you can't control, and it's out of your hands. So we'll at the same time we'll look at opportunities in these instances, because we're in the lithium game for the long haul, and we think we'll be successful in the long haul. So let's see what we can do during these harder times and try to make it benefit when times do turn.
What I heard there was you're going to make sure that you are around for when it turns. If it turns, you're going to be there.
I think it will turn. Obviously, it's just a question when, but we will definitely be there for sure.
Okay, great. And just let me finish off in Argentina. It was a few funky things going on when you were when we last talked about it. I mean, what's it like politically there? Now you talked about a new government, new governor. Is it working out?
So new president has been elected. He's probably spoken the right things at the moment. He's pushing. He understands foreign investment is critical to the country. So he's open all minds for opportunities in mining, and no change from what's been over the last 3 or 4 years. So no change as at the moment. From a provincial level, where we are in Salta province, a new governor, Governor Sainz, he's talked the right stuff as well. He understands, especially on the lithium side of things. Salta doesn't have a lithium project, so we're very much keen to change that. They've been supportive. A new mining secretary has started as well, Dr. Ricardo Alonso. He's a good supporter of lithium. He's been involved in lithium in the past. A new production minister that we've got some very good connections with as well, and so forth. So we feel that the government officials that have been brought in, they're very supportive of mining and lithium specifically. So we're hoping that that translates into good support from government, and whatever they can do to help us, as long as we can help ourselves, I'm sure they will.
Okay, Jerko, good chat. I really appreciate that. You've been very, very honest about the situation. And I think that's unusual in this space. So I appreciate that, and I think your shareholders will too. Stay in touch. Let us know, how things, move along. Maybe perhaps get back to us in Q1, and let's sort of see if the sentiment starts changing or not.
Awesome. Better news from our side of things as well. If we can get that done in the next quarter as well. I appreciate your time today.